Welcome to the Reality Check podcast. I'm Zachary Phillips. So today I want to talk about persistence. Basically, what I've learned over the many years that I've now been writing and podcasting and blogging and all that sort of stuff is the importance of persistence. Nothing comes quick and nothing comes easy that's worth getting. So for me, it's taken literally years to see any sort of traction growth, much book sales at all, and much positive comments. In the sense that when I first started out, it felt like I was talking to nothingness, just talking to myself. And looking at the stats of my podcasts and blogs and all that sort of stuff, I basically was just talking to myself. I basically was just putting stuff out there for no one to see. Flash forward to today, and I'm getting a decent amount of book sales. I'm getting 2 or more email subscribers every day. Some of my videos on LinkedIn and other places are getting 4,000, 5,000 views. My blog readership and website traffic are rising. Now, they're nowhere near where I want them to be, of course, but it's growing. The thing that I've learned is that it takes so much longer than I would have initially guessed or hoped. In fact, I'm a bit sort of fearful to say, but had I have known how hard and how slow all of this would have been, I'm not sure if I would have had the persistence to actually put in that effort, to know just how long the journey is and is going to be. And I know saying this now, I'll look back upon this upon this podcast and be like, well, right now, current Zach didn't realize just how long and hard the journey is going to be. Yet, I'll persist. I have a sneaking suspicion that really the only thing that separates the regular person from a highly successful person is persistence, is consistent hard work and discipline. And this is just my personal experience, but also from what I've read and heard of from successful people. Something that I wanted to do prior to starting writing, something that I still regularly do, is look up the advice of the experts, of my idols, of the people that I would like to have the life of, as in, best-selling authors or popular podcasters or, amazing mental health advocates, whatever I want to do at the time, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu experts, whatever my passion is. And I'll look up their advice. What do they suggest that I should do or the average person should do to get to where they've come from? And consistently, every single time, every person, the advice is always keep turning up. Best-selling authors will always say, read and write daily. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioners will say, it's mat time that matters, as in how often you get to go onto the mat and train. And the longer I keep at this, the more I just know that things just take time. And slowly, you'll build up a momentum and build up a following and build up yourself, more importantly than anything else. Because the other thing that I was unaware of when I first started out was how not ready I was as a person for any sort of success. I had the ego. I'm like, well, I'm me. I deserve this. I should have this. People should like my writing. People should like my podcast, etc., etc. But it was naive. I felt like I didn't have to put in the effort. I felt like that I didn't need to put in those hard yards and that I should just have it. And, I see a lot of, as a teacher, I see a lot of kids, and as a coach, I see a lot of clients just want stuff now without putting in the hard yards. And those hard yards are important for a few reasons. They teach you the importance of keeping on turning up. They teach you the importance of slow, consistent progress. But they also teach you the real refined ways of the world, so to speak, as in you get to know all of the nuanced tips and tricks of the trade that you just can't get other than through experience and trial and error and failure and repeated failures and repeated attempts and repeated letdowns from your ideas not going that well and all of those sort of things. I could sit here and teach you, or, speak to you in person and teach you exactly what I've done, as in, show you all my past work, show you what my website used to look like, show you how I did all this writing and, committed the effort in my process and all that sort of stuff. But you won't have felt it and learnt it yourself. It won't sink in as deep as if you've learnt it yourself. What I'm really trying to say is that if you're starting a new project, if you've got a dream that you want to accomplish, be aware that you just need to persist. Keep turning up. Don't stop. And realize that although you may not be getting the results you want now, over time, very slowly, you'll be able to start getting those results. And it won't happen overnight, but it will happen if you keep turning up. By far and away, the best analogy that I've come up with is just weightlifting in the gym. I recently caught up with a friend who I hadn't seen for 2.5 years, and she made a passing comment that I've bulked up a lot. Now, I know that I am putting on muscle and that I have gotten stronger, but because I see myself every day, I don't notice a big change. I notice little definition changes and that sort of stuff, but it's hardly noticeable. However, if I look back over at a photo of myself from 2.5 years ago, the changes are clear. And because she hadn't seen me for so long, she noticed those changes. So there's a few lessons in that, in the sense that it's very hard to notice the changes in yourself, but you will start having other people notice it. For me, people are more complimenting and commenting on my writing. I'm becoming more engaging. The numbers are going up. Yeah, if I compare my numbers now to my numbers back then, massive changes. If I compare my strength now to my strength back then, massive changes. Same thing's true for every aspect of my life. With my martial arts, I look at my position relative to the rest of the class. The people that were ahead of me are still ahead of me, but my position in the class is going up, as in there's a lot of more new people, and my ability to handle complex situations on the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu mat is improving. That being said, I look at my rank relative to everyone that does the sport, and I'm still so low. So what do? I could either choose to stay where I am and just accept my position that's better than I was and, quite good for where I initially hoped to be, or I can continue to persist, continue to keep training, continue to try, continue to risk failure, and continue to keep turning up, and ultimately continue to get better. My goal is gradual and continual improvement in every aspect of my life. So for me, for this end, professionally, I'll keep practicing my writing, podcasting, and that sort of stuff. So constantly putting out content. I'll continue to read and listen and learn how to do this art form, in the sense of, looking up tutorials, checking ideas, getting feedback, that sort of stuff. And just keep that learning and practicing process going. And the same approach will be for my, meditation practice, for my martial arts practice, for my physical body, for my intelligence, for any other hobbies that I want to do. I've learned that the importance is to be consistent and to just keep turning up. And this isn't to say that I'll suggest just bashing your head against the wall, as in, it would be quite stupid to just try the one solution to a problem and just persist because that's what you're supposed to do. I'm not saying doing the same thing and expecting a new result. What I am saying is working out methods of progress that work for you and realizing that progress is slow, but it will happen. So I've found a way of exercise that works for me. I know how to exercise in a way that best benefits my personal physique, mental state, and time frame. So that's what I'm going to do and keep turning up now. And the results are slowly coming. Would those results work for you? Would that method work for you? Maybe, maybe not. But what will work for you is if you persist at it, if you keep turning up every day, if you go to the gym and keep working out, if you don't stop. One thing that really irks me is people, when they complain about an aspect of their life, any aspect, and you can empathize with them and talk to them, and they come up with solutions, and they decide they're going to take action. And then a week later you follow up and they don't take action. And they're like, oh, for this and this and this reasons, they haven't taken action. That's fine. But then a month later, they still haven't taken action. And a year later, 2 years later, 5 years later, they're still complaining about the same thing. They're still complaining about the body, about the diet, about the work situation, about their lack of ability in a certain hobby, about their intelligence, about their social skills, about anything. And for me, it comes to a point of, there are legitimate reasons not to try to learn and to practice and all that sort of stuff, but ultimately it comes down to a choice. You have to choose to sacrifice something in order to get something else. So for example, with the gym workouts, I do in the mornings maybe 15 to 30 minutes. And at night I'll do a martial arts class that's from about 1 to 3 hours, depending on the day. That time comes at a sacrifice, right? I could be watching TV. I could be socializing in some other capacity. I could be reading. I could be blogging. I could be doing other stuff. So I'm having to choose to sacrifice. Let's say I'm having an issue with my budget. I can choose to do a certain type of work, or I could choose to do another sort of work. Each one comes with a sacrifice. If I like one sort of work but it pays less, I have to sacrifice less money to be doing something I like more. If I choose to buy one thing, that same money can't be going to buying some other thing, right? So self-improvement in general is a sacrifice. You're sacrificing one thing to take up another thing. So then the question becomes as well, what should I go for? What should I aim for? It's really a question of values. What do you value? What do you actually want in your life? And what are you willing to give up? So myself and my wife, we sat down quite a few years ago now, and we keep revisiting this, but we really sort of looked at, well, what do we actually want in life? So prior to the birth of my son, I wanted to make sure that he and my wife had a lot of time together, in the sense that we have a very strong value of having a baby with mum as much as possible. And there's multiple reasons for this that isn't really the point of the podcast, other than to the idea that a newborn baby will be best comforted and have quite a secure attachment if they get as much time with their mum. And that's just our opinion. And, another thing we value is my time with my son. And, there's a few other things that we came up with, but because we value time with our son, a lot of our decisions in terms of, do we keep or sell our investments, in terms of what work do we choose to do, in terms of what do we choose to buy, in terms of, new technologies and cars and all that sort of stuff. It's all geared around the value of, will this give me more or less quality time with my son? Will this give me the time with my son in a way that I can, afford to live and survive and pay the bills and that sort of stuff? So what did we do? I chose a certain line of work. I chose to take time off. I chose to sell certain things that I didn't need or didn't use. Why? To get the time to do the things that I value. In this case, it was spending time with my son. I also value martial arts training. And with a new son, it's like, well, how do you justify the time being away from the home? So for me, I started coaching Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to kids, as well as adults, and other personal training options like that. The idea being is that I could combine earning money with my passion, which is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu training. And if I go out to work, I could be going out to work to do something that I'm not passionate with, or I could be going out to do work with something I am passionate with. And that way I get to do both. I get to have the money I need to survive, but also the time and, in the passion. The whole point of this little side tangent is work out what you value and take actions towards what you value, and cut everything else. For example, do you really need your Netflix subscription? Or do you just use it because you've got it, or use it just out of boredom or habit? Right? The way you can test this is by deleting all your subscription services and then paying to reinstate the ones that you actually find yourself wanting to use. Yeah, so you might have Netflix and Stan and Amazon Prime and a whole bunch of other subscription services. How do you know if you actually need them? It's not if you're using them now. It's if you reinstate them after quitting them. Does that make sense? Because that suggests that it was worth the effort of reinstating them. It was worth the effort of going through the resubscription process as opposed to just not bothering to cancel them. It's a subtle difference, but it's quite important to make. Work out what you value and sacrifice the rest towards what you value. And that includes your time. If you find something that you like, that you want to do, that you have a goal, no matter what it is, you need to persist. You need to consistently work and keep turning up. Keep turning up even if you're not getting the results instantly. Look up what other people have done before you, how long it took them to get the results, and realize it will take that long for you as well. It took me ages to realize that I'm not special. Sounds very egotistical, but I think a lot of people have that ego issue, feeling like themselves that, well, I'm doing this, so I'm special, and other people must see that. For example, if I write a blog post, or if I do a podcast, or share a book, or whatever, I know how important it is. I think it's the most important thing ever because I'm doing it, because it's my product. But I have to apply that same logic to everyone else's work. If someone else wrote a blog post, they think it's crazy important. They know it's important. It is important to them. But to me, to the outside reader, to the outside observer, that's just another of many, 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 many other blog posts. Most of which I won't find any relevance to, and most of which I won't care about. So in the grand scheme of things, I have to realize that I'm just another person to other people, despite the absolute feeling of importance that I weight upon my own word and upon my own desires and upon my own beliefs. It's quite humbling to have that experience, knowing that what I feel and what I believe and what I know is just one of 7 billion other stories. And the only way to really know if people are caring and connecting is to see if they're caring and connecting, and is to develop a good enough product, i.e. my work, in which people will want to connect with. So basically, I just want to leave you with this. Take action on your dreams if you have them. Expect slow progress over a long period of time. Expect to have to put in hard work and that you'll have to persist. Keep turning up. And just realize that if you don't put in this work, if you do quit, you'll never get what you want. You'll always have that thing in the back of your mind going, I coulda, woulda, shoulda. Unless you are consistent, unless you persist, you'll never get it. And it's not, there's nothing else I can say on this. I would love to be able to say, yeah, you'll get everything you want. You won't. Unless you put in the effort, you've got no chance of getting anything. So please, persist, keep turning up, and yeah, get some. If you'd like to support this podcast, there's a couple of things that you can do. Number one is purchase one of my books. I'll put a link down below. You can also support my work on Patreon at patreon.com/ZachPPhillips. And that's a way that you can provide regular, monthly, ongoing support to me. And if you check it out, there's a bunch of little bonuses and benefits for people that do decide to support me. And finally, if you haven't already, please rate and review this podcast wherever you're listening to it. That helps get the word out and let people know what we're doing here. So please, rate and review, tell someone about it, and yeah, have a good one. Thank you.